Hello, 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 beautiful people. So, my name is Charlie. My name is Charlisa, but people call me Charlie for short. I've been meaning to do this for some time. I am a creative catalyst, an intuitive healer, an artist, and I practice shamanic Reiki. I've been truly, in all honesty, fearful of taking this on and sharing this part of myself with the world, and I've been going through a lot of transformation and a lot of changes, and I have been moved and inspired to step into a place where I am going to begin sharing my experiences and my knowledge and my wisdom, and that I don't know that I know that I know, through these messages and through the cards. So, like, I am an artist, and I found that at the very beginning of my journey, art was my practice. And at the time when I first began on this journey, I didn't realize that art was my medicine and that I was healing through art. So, images and symbols and the practice of channeling art is something that has really helped me heal along my journey and helped to support me in the expression of the emotions that rise as we're doing the inner work. And so I wanted to go ahead and share that as a form of support for us together on this journey. So, mostly in part, I truly believe that we're all the artists of our lives and that we're all creating our current reality. But most of the time, we're not aware of it, right? And it's such a beautiful and powerful tool to become aware of the things that are coming up for you in the moment. And sometimes we're blindsided and we need someone to point things out to us or bring to our awareness that which we cannot see, right? And so, but keeping in mind, right, after this reading, that awareness without action is bullshit. So we can be aware of the things, we can eat the right foods, we can read all the books, but if we don't take action with what we are aware of, then we're not really showing up to do the work now, are we? Right? So with that being said, before I turned on the cameras, I went ahead and pulled out this, I was shuffling to get the cards prepared before we got on the table and praying. And the card that came up was the Merkaba card, Spiritual Protection. So right now we are in Mercury retrograde, but we also just had a new moon in Gemini. A lot of downloads that I've been receiving and a lot of the things that I've been going through has a lot to do with the way that we're choosing to show up in the world and how we are relating to ourselves, but more so, and taking it a step further, how are we relating to others, right? So, spiritual protection, it seems like there's a lot of things, a lot of relationships specifically, whether they're business, whether they're with partners, whether they're with lovers, friends, family members. There's a lot of things that are opening and closing at the same time, right? Because the end of one thing is the beginning of another. And so the reason why we're closing all of these cycles, or realizing some of our patterns at the time, is because we're creating space for these new things to come in. But in order for these new things to come in, we need to also be able to receive, right? Now, being able to receive is allowing ourselves to have our hearts open, right? So as we're closing these cycles and as we're letting go of all of these old relationships or all of these old patterns and behaviors, we're also keeping in mind to keep the heart open, okay? And that was a lot of what I've been receiving, but we're going to go ahead and pull the cards and clarify a little bit more about what this spiritual protection is about. And by saying that, I say that to say this: you have guides, you have protection, you know your intuition, follow your intuition, but lead from your heart, but also learn how to ask. And when you ask, also be open to receiving. Okay? So let's bring that mindset out onto here. I'm going to place this over here. And we're going to dive right in, and we're going to go with these first since we're already on these angel cards. All right, all of this is intuitive. Keep in mind that the reading is intuitive. Okay, so take what resonates, leave what does not. I'm simply sharing my experience and allowing the messages to come through with the cards. Okay. Trust the plan. Trust in the plan. Okay. Ooh. All right. There's a lot going on there. Ooh. And unplugging from mass consciousness. So a lot of, wow, this is beautiful. I love this. I love this so much. Okay, so we have protection, and we were just speaking to what the downloads that were coming through for me, or the messages that I've been receiving on this journey so far during this Mercury retrograde and this new moon, right? So the first card that came out here is number 13 and says trust in the plan, right? What a beautiful card that is. Look at that. Trust in the plan. Trust that everything is unfolding for you. Trust that things are happening for you and not to you. Try to stay away from the victim consciousness, right? That victim consciousness, that place where we take ourselves, where things start to happen to us, and then suddenly we start running that narrative in our minds that people are out to get us, that people are doing things towards us with malintention. It's stay away from the old stories, the old patterns, the old narratives, right? And trust that everything that is happening, whether it looks horrendous here in 3D, is happening for a reason, right? So a great question to ask is like, what am I learning from this versus why is this happening to me? What am I learning from this, right? Unplugging from mass consciousness also allows you to think for yourself, to have critical thinking, to dig deeper into your heart space, right? And when these triggers start to show up for you as you're closing and opening these cycles, take that as a growing opportunity to lean into it and dig a little bit deeper. Dig a little bit deeper into why that is triggering you and where is that coming from exactly, and what actions can you take to move in a different direction, right? Because this is all about not only just closing those cycles, right? Because as we're closing those cycles within those relationships, we're learning how to tap into our intuition and lead from the heart, because the closing of any cycle is almost like a heartbreak, right? For the most part, it's a heartbreak. It has a grieving process, and when we're grieving or when we're having a heartbreak, a lot of times we tend to think like, oh my god, they broke my heart, I'm breaking into pieces. It's like, are you really breaking or are you opening? Are you really breaking or are you opening? Is your heart opening up? Are you expanding? Are you growing? Are you evolving in that moment, right? Growth oftentimes is painful, and pain oftentimes is the catalyst to our awakening, right? But again, awareness without action is bullshit. So I love that saying, as bad as it sounds. I do, right? So as we're tapping into those different elements within ourselves, we also have to learn how to receive, right? Learn how to receive grace, right? Learn how to receive grace. Learn how to allow the universe to embrace you. It's like oftentimes we tend to want to resist everything that's happening, everything that's unfolding, and we're just like, no, I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to continue to do this. I'm not going to, or we go into that victim mentality where we're like, oh my God, why is this happening again? If it's happening again, clearly it's a pattern, one. And two, what are you not addressing within yourself? What are you not taking accountability for? And also, at the same time, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace and allow the universe to embrace you with its magic, with its love, with its wisdom, with its knowledge, with its direction. Because if we find the stillness within and we take the time to shift the perspective and sit with our shit, then we can find the path, because it begins to unfold on its own. It's just there. And we're going to move fluidly. Right? Now I want to dig deeper into the unplugging from mass consciousness. Because because this has been a really big thing for me in the last 2 weeks. So I'm actually really curious as to what comes through for that. So more clarity on the unplug from the mass consciousness here. Unplugging from the mass consciousness. Whoa. Okay. Absence. I'm going to put this here. This here. And I love it how unplugging from the mass consciousness is a number 7. And it has 3 heads. And 3 being the portal that it is, right? 3 is such a beautiful portal. Let's see. Unplugging from mass consciousness, absence. And there's lunar energy there. There's dark feminine energy there in that card. Again, addressing that heart space. It's like, are you creating walls when you're closing these cycles, or are you okay? Are you creating walls when you're closing these cycles, or are you creating boundaries, the boundaries that are necessary at the time, right? So we have formation, efficiency, and productivity. Yes. Amazing. Okay. Wow. So much is happening here. So the first card with absence here. With absence addressing the heart space, but also addressing the solar plexus, because we have the masculine energy here with the chariot, with the horse in the middle. The feminine energy, the creative energy, tapping into our softness, right? We need that softness to allow ourselves to get into a space where we're receiving. And what is it that you're receiving exactly? Like, pay attention to that. Pay attention to where you allow yourself to open up to, and where are those safe places within those relationships that you're having that you actually can open up. And do you feel safe enough within yourself to open up to yourself and be honest with yourself about how you really feel? Right? Are you taking the time to feel into the lessons that are being taught to you through these triggers, which are these opportunities to grow, while you're closing and opening these cycles? And why is it that it's so difficult for you to receive in the first place? How are you blocking your heart off? What wall is standing in front of you? Right? And then you want to think about, as these things are closing and opening, as these cycles are closing and opening, as these patterns are closing and opening, right? What is taking form here? Right? Remember that this pain or this heartbreak or this fire that's currently present for you, whether you feel passion or whether you feel pain, either one is literally the fire or the pain that's going to fortify you and mold you and form you into the thing that you need to become, into that new version of yourself, for you to step into these new roles that you want for your life. You're asking for so much, right? You're asking for love, you're asking for career, you're asking for passion, you're asking for abundance. But are you open to receiving it? Are you allowing what is unfolding to mold you and shape you into what you need to become to actually take that space within your life? Like, what is really happening here? And can you hold yourself accountable to it? Can you be honest with yourself as it's happening? Can you speak your truth as it's happening? Can you speak from a place of love rather than a place of fear? Right? Formation. Ooh, and efficiency. This for me calls for balance. Efficiency. Do you believe that you're worthy of success? Do you believe that you're worthy of love? Can you show up for yourself? Remember, the way that you relate to yourself is the way that you relate to others. So if you're not showing up for yourself, how would you expect to show up for others, right? How efficient can you be within the details and intricacies of your journey? Can you do it on the days that you don't feel like it? Right? What is holding you back? again, more solar plexus energy here I see, where it's like you really need to dive deep into why you lack confidence. Why are you lacking confidence? Why is there this deep-seated belief that you're not worthy or that you're not being efficient, right? There's a lack of confidence here. There's a lack of, and with that lack of confidence, there's a lack of willpower. And in doing so, then maybe there's a lack of passion or a lack of fire. Maybe you're blocking your heart off and you can't listen to it, right? So follow your intuition, but lead from your heart. We want to receive, but we keep keeping the heart closed. And I love this. Productivity. Such a beautiful thing. Productivity, coming from this feminine energy, this formation that's happening here. All of these steps here they're just inspiration. The inspiration, the different types of pains and passions that you are transcending or transmuting or translating into love, right? In order for us to be able to do that, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to be creative, right? Taking time to be with our inner child. Productivity doesn't need to look like what mass consciousness refers to, right? So how can we redefine efficiency? How can we redefine productivity, right? How do you define it for yourself? And what does it look like for you? Can you lean into your feminine and your creative energy and your sacral chakra to allow yourself to feel through this in order to create, right? You need to feel it to heal it. And productivity can be a very joyful process. It doesn't have to make you feel drained. It doesn't have to make you feel like, oh my God, I have to get up and do this now. Oh, no. It can be a joyful process. It can be like, oh my gosh, I get to do this. I get to be present. I get to create. I get to allow myself to be free. But are you allowing your inner child to express? Are you giving them or creating a safe space that gives you permission to do that, right? It's like when we're running around with this mass consciousness mentality, going in circles, running rat races, trying to get this money, trying to get this bag, you tend to forget how to slow down enough to create. And you can't rush art. And if your life is art, then you're going too fast. You can't rush that process. You can't rush your healing. You need to take your time. But in order for you to be able to see what direction you're going to go in, and where you feel most inspired and inclined to dive into, and which doorway you want to take, you're going to have to allow yourself to tap into that feminine energy. You're going to have to allow yourself to redefine what productivity looks like for you, to redefine what efficiency looks like for you. And that's going to require you to take some time to yourself. And no, that may not mean that you need to be alone and totally isolate yourself from everyone, but at times it will. Just making sure that you're finding stillness within yourself. Okay, then we're going to wrap that up with one more card, and I'm going to read that from the book for you guys. Unplugging from mass consciousness, which really brings us back to this spiritual protection here, right? When we're going through those different phases of our lives, we tend to have these old patterns show up for us. And sometimes people want to hold on to us too. But there's a part of us that wants them to. And I think it's important to look into that narrative and shift your perspective there, right? So maybe protection from the way that you used to think, or your old patterns and behaviors, and how those old patterns and behaviors are reflected in those relationships that you currently have, right? Because those people that have been around you all this time in some shape, way, or form are a reflection of yourself, right? There's some part of you that is reflected in them, and there's some lesson that you were learning through them, and there's some part of you that perhaps you neglected or pushed away that you're learning to love through them, right? Can you hold them in compassion? And in doing so, can you learn how to hold yourself in compassion, or vice versa? Maybe you're learning how to hold yourself in compassion and in love and in grace. And in doing so, you're also learning to hold them in that space as well. So one last card, and like I said, I'm going to read this one from the book just to wrap it up. Ooh, oof. The journey. Look at that. Okay, so number 29. And it says, the essence. The journey is an invitation to step outside the boundaries of your life as you know it. The journey is not a holiday. It is a call to be hermit-like and to go on a pilgrimage into the unknown. There are no maps, to the territory you will be exploring, no marked paths or road signs. The invitation. The time to embark on the great journey is here. Do not linger in the port when distant shores are calling. Fearlessly draw your own navigation charts as you discover the route. When the time is right, as it is now, you will be led true, even when you are not sure of where you are going. It is the departure that is the most important. If you miss the boat, a great opportunity will be lost, and another ship may not arrive for a very long time. So, like I said, my friends, awareness without action is bullshit. It's my new favorite saying that came down for me today. And the journey, it's a journey and it's not a race. And it's important to really learn how to dig deeper and sit with our shit so that we can learn how to follow and listen to our intuition and lead from our hearts from a place of love and not a place of fear. I hope that all of these messages today have served you for your highest good in your highest heart. And until next time.